A lot of people talk about where they're going to retire, when they're going to retire, at what age they're going to retire, or why they're going to retire, but not so much about the how. And I really think that the how is the most important function because this is the day to day. These are not the glamorous things. This is how are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to structure your finances? How are you going to be sure you have enough money to get you through your entire life? It really comes down to having peace of mind with your decisions, but also about your future. I just encourage you to get very clear on how you want to live your life in retirement and how you want to feel about money and how you want to avoid these pitfalls. We all know that inflation can come or things can come and change the trajectory of what kind of money we thought we had or what we thought our expenses might be. So, to set yourself up to win, I have a really key piece of advice. We empower ourselves through our decisions. And to me, one of the most important decisions that guided my entire process of planning for retirement was this idea of having peace of mind all across the board. For me, it became abundantly clear that I had to come up with a master plan to make this work, that I couldn't just rely on what was in my 401k. I actually didn't start a 401k until I was 47. And yet, I was able to retire at 63 and live within my means. And I have no credit cards. I have no debt. I have a small mortgage, but I have no debt. And I think this is really the pivotal caveat to having the life you want to live. Because let's face it, we don't want to have to worry. We don't want to live in fear. We don't want to worry about what the economy is going to do in the next decade or so. So it really comes down to being super savvy about how you sculpt this new future of yours. For me, I didn't start saving for retirement until I was 47. Honestly, I was a very late bloomer. I was very lucky, though, that at that particular juncture in time, I did take a job that was a mom and pop operation, but up and coming. A year after I started, they were acquired by a big company. And I will say, I had a lot of perks in regard to that, including a fairly big bonus at the end of each year. And then when we were acquired, we did get a very, very big bonus as part of a package for becoming this part of this new corporation. So those were advantages that I had. But that being said, I was decades behind in the planning. Yeah, I wanted to enjoy my golden years, my adventure years, as I call them, by having the ability to do the things that I've been looking forward to my whole life. I did decide that when I retired, once my kids were out of the house and out of college, that I did want to make a big move, do something different, because I thought that doing something different, living somewhere different, would make me younger. Instead of coming home and doing the same old things that I'd done for 50 years, that it would be much more healthy for me to go and make a change because it would force me to make new friends, to try new things, really to go outside of my comfort zone a little bit. I think that makes us younger. I think that's what we did when we were younger. We didn't think twice about it. When we get older, we do think twice about it. So that was part of the equation. Another reason I was thinking about moving to a different area was because where I lived had a very high cost of living. Both in the cost of a home, the cost of utilities, all these things were extremely expensive. And I knew that on a retirement income, I couldn't make ends meet. So I started going to see different places and seeing what the lifestyle would be like. And my ultimate goal, for some reason, my ultimate goal was to find a place where the cost of housing was a lot lower because that's what I could afford. Let's just face it, that's what I could afford. So, despite the fact of having many perks, I was behind the eight ball in having started so late. But the good news is you still can make a workable solution. So, I did that. I went north, south, east, and west. I checked out so many places. And there was one place that really felt like home to me. And so that was where I started to put all of my focus. That was the first step. Figuring out where you want to be or where you've dreamed to be in your whole life and also where it feels like home. where you think it would be almost like being on a vacation to be there. Because in retirement, it should feel like you're on vacation. You should have things that are exciting to you. You should have opportunities in your backyard that are free or easy to access that don't break the bank. And so I started on a quest to find where I could find an affordable cost of living. And that was in regard to being able to find a house or housing that was very inexpensive comparatively to where I lived at the time. So I found a location that really was the perfect match. And then I started thinking about buying. And eventually I did. And I ended up changing my strategy a bit to a patio home, which is a townhome that is connected only on one side by a twin unit. A patio home has a backyard, a front yard, a side yard, and is very ample. I think one of the biggest things that was in my mind over this course of deciding all these things was that I don't want to have to worry about having a roof over my head. And this was a really big deal to me because it was very scary during the housing bubble and people lost a lot of money. And it just shook me up a little bit to think, somebody could lose their home over a bad decision, over taking out too big of a mortgage or having too much credit card debt. And I really got very clear that debt was not going to be my friend. I did not want to carry debt. I stopped carrying credit cards. I used only a debit card with one exception, which is a very small balance credit card that you want to live within your means. And especially when you're retired, you have to live within your means because you're not in your high income growth years. So you have to really get real clear about this. And that's what I did. I got very, very clear about what was most important to me in my retirement. And it came down to two things. One, not having any worries. Two, not having debt. And actually a third thing, which was having a little bit more flexibility with my income stream. So especially in retirement, I didn't want to have to be at a disadvantage. And lastly, it gave me the opportunity to be able to have a little bit more disposable income by having this lower mortgage. If I planned carefully and saved carefully to be able to take some bigger trips. Now, I am the kind of person that I will be very frugal in certain areas and not so frugal in others. But on the day to day, the things that are those kind of sales that you see in the store that might entice you to get a new sweater or a new pair of shoes or something like that, I will resist that. Not always, but for the vast majority of times, and rather go on a big trip. For you, it might be something completely different. For you, it might be the pair of shoes or the sweater, and you don't really care about the trips. Whatever it is for you, I just encourage you to get very clear on how you want to live your life in retirement and how you want to feel about money and how you want to avoid these pitfalls. I wanted to feel empowered in my most important years. Let's face it, we have a bucket list. We have things we want to do, whether it's learning to paint or learning to sing or acting in a play, taking a trip, or being part of a book club or a sewing club or a baseball team or whatever it is. Now's our time. And it's very important in my mind, it's important for me to have that peace of mind that can come from just some simple thought process around the how we want to live. I see lots of people talking about tiny homes and enjoying it and how creative it was to build them and how happy they are. And they live in these beautiful little tiny home communities. And there's a real sense of adventure in that. For others, it's moving to a different state and doing activities that you've never done, going to the rodeo or going water skiing or whatever it is. And each of us has our own journey. But I want to share this with you because I feel that empowerment in these years is important. So this is just my take on what is the cornerstone of planning your retirement. Think it through and find your source of the spring of what is going to make this the best time of your life. Don't forget to like or subscribe down below and to look in the notes section about anything that I've posted to help you with this process.